In this lesson, we're going to learn about a more advanced technique for masking known as an opacity mask. Alright, so in the previous lesson we learned what a clipping mask is, and we learned how to create and modify clipping masks within our artwork. Now, remember, I talked to you about the downfall of a clipping mask is that the artwork we're trying to hide is either completely hidden or it's completely revealed. There's no in between. Now, let's say that you find the need to actually maybe create a slow transition between revealed and hidden for your mask. Now, there's actually a more advanced masking technique here in Illustrator that's going to enable you to do just that. It's known as an opacity mask. Now, this is a little bit more advanced type of mask, so hang with me here. Let's just say we wanted to create this sky up here. Now, in selecting this sky, you can see I've used a very simple gradient, but let's say we wanted to do that without using a gradient. We wanted to use a mask to create that sky. We can actually do that here. Let me go ahead and just select this rectangle here. Now, I'm actually going to be using our transparency panel quite a bit in this lesson, so go ahead and snap that out there, undock that from your panel dock, and if you don't have that open, you can again find that under your window drop-down menu and transparency. Now notice here that with my artwork selected, we have a thumbnail here on the left side of this little window that has a preview of the artwork we have selected. Now, in order to create an opacity mask, we can do one of two things. We can actually double click on this area to the right of this thumbnail, or we can come up here and choose the little flyout menu and choose Make Opacity Mask. Either way, it's going to create a thumbnail to the right of our preview here of our artwork. Now remember, this is going to be our artwork. This is going to be our opacity mask. So there's a little black outline right now around our artwork indicating that we have the artwork selected. If we want to work with the mask, we can just come over here and simply select the thumbnail on the right, and we're going to be inside the opacity mask. Now this is something really important to remember because I know a lot of times in my own workflow I'll be working on an opacity mask and forget to come back over here and switch, and I'll wonder why I can't select any of my artwork anywhere on my artboard until I remember, oh, I'm in the opacity mask. So remember that this little black outline indicates which one of the two that you're currently in. Now let me just go ahead and select the artwork thumbnail here again, and notice that our artwork is hidden. Now we've created an opacity mask here, but we haven't created a masking object yet. So there's a really good reason why our artwork is already hidden, and that's because with this little box right here checked next to clip, what we've done is we've clipped a black background to our masking object. Even though we haven't created our masking object yet, we've got a black background here. Now, there's a really simple rule of thumb when it comes to opacity mask. Black is to hide an object, and white is to reveal it. It's going to work with grayscale values there. So let's go ahead and select our masking layer here, and let's unclip that black background. You can see if we do that, our artwork is again visible here. So I'm going to go ahead and work with a black background clip to that. That's just my own personal preference. I find it easier to hide my artwork until my mask reveals it. So I'm going to come over now at this point and grab my rectangle tool, and I'm going to, with this masking thumbnail highlighted, I'm going to just draw in a rectangle here. Now I've drawn in a blue rectangle, but remember we're only going to work in grayscale values here. So let me just switch that to a black rectangle. And you can see that we've hidden our object. Now remember, white is actually going to reveal our object. So let's go ahead and change this to black for right now. And notice here that the masking object is not the same size as the artwork that's being masked out. Now I'm going to come in and actually apply a gradient, a very basic gradient to this masking object, or excuse me, yes, to this masking object. Let's go ahead and go to our swatch panel and let's grab this gradient right here. It's just a default white to black gradient. Now, in looking at the way this gradient's been applied, we can see a thumbnail of the masking object right here. Now, you can see here if we look at the artboard, the effect of the masking object on our artwork here. You can see here that it's creating a gradation of masking here that's being applied to the artwork. Now I'm going to go ahead and with this masking object selected, let's grab our gradient tool. That's the keyboard shortcut G. We can come in here and actually reapply our gradient however we want to, and in whatever direction we want to this new object, to this masking object. So if I was trying to create the look of this sky up here, I might come in and modify my gradient annotator to have it look something like this, to where we have a really light value of that blue. And you know, maybe we want to reveal more of the original artwork. Remember, we're only revealing a portion of it right now. So again, with the masking object selected here, we're going to go ahead and just resize that. And we can resize the path around the original artwork to reveal the entire original artwork here. Now let me go ahead and just resize that again, get it pretty close to the original in terms of size, and let's talk about this invert mask option right here. Now the invert mask option is going to reverse the rules of the mask. Remember, right now black means we're hiding, white means we're revealing. So if we invert this, it's going to change that around. Now white is hiding and black is revealing. Now, I personally don't ever use the invert mask option here. I prefer to keep it with the default set of rules, but whatever you feel more comfortable with, you can actually change that right here. Now let's say for whatever reason we've created a mask on top of our object and we want to actually temporarily disable the mask. We can really do that very simply. We can actually come up here to this little flyout menu and we can choose disable mask right here, or we can actually just hold down our shift key on our keyboard and click on the masking thumbnail. Now you notice here that we get a red X through the masking thumbnail. If we shift click that again, we can turn that mask back on. Now let's say for a moment that maybe we're working with a very advanced shape for our opacity mask. Maybe it's something we've custom drawn with the pen tool and there's a lot of artwork on our artboard and we're having problems making out the masks from the artwork. And maybe we want to isolate just the mask. That's really easy to do as well. If we come over here and just hold down the Alt key and click on the mask thumbnail, you can see here that it's going to hide everything else on our artboard and we're going to be actually working inside the opacity mask. If we were to come over and take a look at our layers panel, you're going to see we don't have our layer stack as we remember it. Now we have an opacity mask layer right here displayed in our layers panel. So we know that we're working inside the opacity mask. If we ever want to go back and display our artwork again, we can just come in and hold down our Alt key and click on the masking thumbnail here, and we're back to full view where we have everything on our artboards here. Now, let's say we actually wanted to get rid of this opacity mask. Maybe we want to remove it completely. I'm going to come in here now and just come to this little flyout menu and let's go ahead and release the opacity mask. If we do that, you can see here that what we're left with, we no longer have the masking thumbnail. If we select our selection tool, we can actually see that what it's done is it's created a new object here and it just has that simple black to white gradient applied to it. So if we ever want to release an opacity mask, that's how we do it. Now let me really quickly show you one of my favorite things to do with an opacity mask. It's to create a reflection. Let me just grab a copy of our logo here, and maybe we want to grab a second copy of this logo to act as a reflection, maybe on the floor in front of this logo. So let me just apply a couple transformations to the logo here. And let's just go ahead and zoom in. Alright, so we've got a distorted logo here that's going to act as our reflection. Let's go ahead and apply an opacity mask to this logo. Now, another way we can do this is let's just go ahead and draw in a basic shape. Let's go ahead and just switch back to our default colors using the D keyboard shortcut. And I'm just going to draw in a basic shape right here. And just resize that to where it completely hides out our logo there. And let's go ahead and cut that with a Control X. Let's come up here and select this artwork again and double click here to create our opacity mask, and I'm going to just paste that in place using a Shift Control V. Now actually we have our opacity mask isolated right now, so let me just alt click on the thumbnail here, and now I have white applied to the fill for this shape. Let's go ahead and apply that gradient again. And let's grab our gradient annotator tool. Let's just rotate this gradient around some. Maybe we want it to be more opaque near the bottom of the logo, but as it grows out towards the top here, it's going to be more transparent. So let's just resize this gradient, sort of like that. And let's hide that and come back over to our artwork and zoom out. Now we've got here our logo and it has an opacity mask applied to it. Maybe we just want to move that up just a little bit. Now let's talk about one last thing here. Let's talk about this little chain link option here. Now notice as I move my artwork around, the opacity mask is moving with it. That's because it's linked to the artwork. If I were to click this little link right here, it would hide that little chain. We can actually move the artwork independent of the opacity mask. So the opacity mask is going to stay put and the artwork is going to be moved out and away. You can see here that we've hidden part of the logo now. So if you ever want to unlink your opacity mask from your artwork, that's how you'd go about doing that. Alright, so in this lesson we've learned about a little bit more advanced masking technique known as an opacity mask. In the next lesson we're going to talk about how we can make your workflow a little more efficient using something that's called a symbol.